is novel and has been done only on a very small scale. While most experts agree that the lake's methane should be kept from accumulating further in order to prevent a disaster by the end of the century, a few warn that certain extraction processes could disturb the natural stratification that keeps the bulk of the gases trapped in deep waters. Undertaking them could increase, rather than mitigate, the risk of gas eruption. Until a large-scale extraction operation has commenced, it also remains unclear how efficiently the technology will function and how much electricity Kivus will ultimately yield. We are very curious to see how our process works, says Jarmo Gumeras, a Finnish engineer and Kivus's Rwanda country manager. Very soon we'll have a much better idea of the potential of this lake. Boosting the grid. 3 hours by car over winding roads from Kivus, the Rwandan capital Kigali does not appear to be a city in the midst of an energy crisis. In the 21 years since the Rwandan genocide, in which an estimated 800,000 people were killed, the city of 1 million has transformed from a corpse-ridden backwater into a tidy modern metropolis. Today, Kigali is a town of smooth, tree-lined streets, sprouting office towers, and American-style subdivisions that stretch to the surrounding hills. It's also the engine of a Rwandan economy that's grown at an average of 8% per year over the last decade, one of the highest rates in the world. As Rwanda and its capital have developed, however, the country's electricity grid has struggled to keep pace. Although installed capacity has doubled in the last 5 years, it remains a scant 156 megawatts. Today, nearly 80% of Rwanda's 12 million people, including the vast majority of rural residents, still lack a connection to the grid. Families and businesses that do have power, meanwhile, face some of the highest electricity prices in the region, in part because nearly a third of the country's power is generated from imported diesel and heavy fuel oil, which arrive by truck from Kenya and Tanzania. According to the World Bank, Rwandan companies pay an average of 24 cents per kilowatt hour, compared with 15 cents in Kenya and 17 cents in Uganda. The average industrial user in the United States pays less than 7 cents. Hoping to reduce its widespread poverty and boost its small industrial base, Rwanda has set ambitious electrification targets. The country's second economic development and poverty reduction strategy, launched in 2013, assumed a nearly four-fold expansion of the power grid to 563 megawatts by the end of 2017. Given financial constraints and limited domestic energy resources, however, this will be difficult to pull off. Aside from Kivus, the only significant power project nearing completion is a 15-megawatt plant that will burn peat. Although work has begun on another 80-megawatt peat facility, and financing is being arranged for 2 large-scale regional hydroelectric projects, it's not clear if any will be on the grid by the 2017 target. Rwanda might also have significant geothermal resources if preliminary surveys are correct, but 2 exploratory wells drilled in 2013 came up empty. And although Rwanda recently inaugurated East Africa's first utility-scale solar field, and authorities are working to bring off-grid solar installations to rural homes, schools, and hospitals, it's unlikely that solar will be able to meet a significant portion of industry's demands. Out of desperation, Rwanda could soon become a significant electricity importer. According to the Ministry of Infrastructure, arrangements are in the works to purchase 30 megawatts from Kenya this year and eventually up to 400 megawatts from Ethiopia. Across the border in the eastern part of the Democratic Republic of Congo, formerly known as Zaire, the power crisis is even more acute. The DRC, a country of 77 million people in a territory roughly the size of Western Europe, contains extensive hydroelectric resources. If fully tapped, the Congo River's Inga Falls could yield an estimated 40,000 megawatts, nearly twice the capacity of the world's largest power station, the Three Gorges Dam in China. Today, however, the DRC's aging grid has an installed capacity of just 2,400 megawatts, roughly half of which is routinely unavailable because the transmission infrastructure is in such poor shape. In the war-torn East, power is particularly limited. Goma, the largest city on Lake Kivu, has an available capacity of less than 5 megawatts, a meager amount for a town of 1 million residents, and a situation, some argue, that helps promote conflict.